Good evening, Internet. It is October 23rd, 2010, and this is my next vlog. This is my second video game vlog, and I've decided on The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. It's a game about a character whose name you get to choose, as in all the Zelda series games. However, the default name is Link, and that's what I'm going to call the character from now on in this video. The Legend of Zelda games typically follow Link through various dungeons in which he fights bosses, whom often are servants of his arch-nemesis Ganon or Ganondorf. They're usually the same person, it's just one name is used for one type of boss, and the other is used in the other situations. Ganondorf typically is a more agile, younger form of Ganon, and Ganon is a older, not quite as agile sorcerer. Ganondorf's also a sorcerer, but they're actually the same person, in all sense of the word. Typically, Link's quest often involves protecting, serving, or saving the princess of the game, who is Zelda. In Wind Waker, it begins with Link's sister getting kidnapped by a giant bird that roosts at the final dungeon of the game. Well, not the final dungeon, but one of the last dungeons, the Forsaken Fortress. He gets to the Forsaken Fortress through the help of some pirates that he saved the captain of, who was the captain was actually the target of the bird. It was targeting blonde girls, and the captain was a blonde girl. So it actually misidentified Link's sister as that pirate, and Link ends up saving the pirate lord, princess, whatever you want to call her, and the bird instead grabs his sister. The pirates help him get to the fortress, and he makes his way through. You make your way through the dungeon. It's technically the first dungeon of the game, and you make your way through there, and you finally get to the top, and you find your sister, only to have the bird come down again and basically capture you. It then flies you up to Ganon, and on his orders, it throws you far away to another island. Your character is then saved by the King of Red Lions, a mysterious talking boat, as weird as it sounds, and it basically acts as Link's mentor and his mode of transportation through the game, as in this world, the entire world is covered with water, except for a few islands. I can't go into greater detail about the game without revealing some spoilers, but if this video does get some good reception, and if people start asking me to, I might make spoiler videos basically describing the whole game. But I'm only going to do that if people want me to, because that's going to be a lot of extra work, and I don't want to do it if nobody's going to watch it. So that was the plot of The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, and so now on to my experience with it. Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker, or as I sometimes call it, LOZWWW, it's for the Nintendo GameCube, and it's personally one of my favorite games of all time. It's definitely my favorite Zelda game, and it's one of my favorites all time. I received the game as a birthday present, and of course, being a Zelda fan at the time, I really wanted to play it, so I just started playing it. I don't think I'd even left some of my presents unopened because I wanted to play this game. To my surprise, the game actually takes place the first day. The first thing you see is on your character's birthday. So that was kind of cool for me. I mean, I was playing it on my birthday, and it takes place on your birthday in the game. So, I mean, I found that really, really cool. Another reason I really love this game, as with Pokemon games, Wind Waker actually made me feel like I was in the game. Like, I physically felt like I was Link, sailing from island to island, fighting these guys. It really made me feel like I was in it, and I think it might be because it's not the first 3D Zelda game I played. I played Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. I haven't beaten Ocarina of Time, which is kind of annoying to me because that's a really popular game. But it just made me really feel like I was in the game. Wind Waker is not an RPG-style game. It doesn't have a level-up system. a level up system, excuse me. So it's relatively straightforward and not incredibly difficult, so it's good for beginners. Usually in every dungeon there's some item you get, and I guess you could think of that as your level up system. You get a stronger item, a better item, an item that has a particular use, and often most of the puzzles in that dungeon often revolve around that item. For example, in one dungeon you end up getting a grappling hook, and it ends up being used from that point on in that dungeon, and then through various points throughout the game. So it's a relatively straightforward game. It's not that difficult, and pretty much anyone, beginner to advanced, can have fun with it. Alright, so that's my review of Wind Waker. So now it's time for some of the after stuff. I'm considering allowing you guys to vote on what my next vlog should be, but I still want to have some say in it, so I'm going to give you guys a choice. So for the first, I'll give you guys two options, and whichever video game has the most votes, by the time I make my next video, I'll do that one next. So for this time, I haven't given you guys much of a heads up, but this time it's going to be two of my favorite games for the N64, because I kind of want to do an N64 game. My first game was on my first system. The GameCube was one of my favorite systems, and that's the one that I just did. So this time I'm doing N64, my first console system. And I'm going to do two of my favorite games, as I said before, Banjo-Kazooie and Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Now, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask was the first Zelda game I ever beat, and it was the first game on the N64 that I ever beat. But Banjo-Kazooie is personally, like, my favorite N64 game of all time. For those of you who don't know much about it, Legend of Zelda is obviously a Legend of Zelda game, and Banjo-Kazooie is a game about a bear and a bird who basically travel through a castle to fight a witch. It's not as simple as it sounds. The story is actually kind of good. I mean, there's not really much plot that I will probably talk about. I'll probably more so talk about my experience with that. And as with Majora's Mask, I mean, you're probably going to get the same stuff you got in Wind Waker just for Majora's Mask. So, thank you all for watching, and don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. So long, Internet. So long.